Okay, let's start with the toolbar and in particular the top row of the toolbar. So first thing to point out is if you put your mouse over anything and then just wait for a second, you will get a little tooltip, little yellow box that tells us what that thing is. So if you ever don't know what something is, just put your mouse over it and wait a second and you'll get a clue as to what that does. So moving across here, we have create a new score, load a score, save a score, print the score, and then undo and redo buttons here. Here we have our zoom settings, so we can zoom out, or we could zoom way in, and I can scroll around with my trackpad there. So this is handy when you're working on a score and you're really getting in, or in my case, you've been working on a score for 12 hours and your eyes are getting tired, then it's time to zoom in a little bit more. I find that handy. This menu here, we have page view or continuous view. Page view is what we're looking at now, where we see everything laid out in terms of pages, right? Continuous view shows us one long scroll of everything. Okay, and it'll just keep going and going and going and going and going until the end of the piece. I actually like to work in continuous view. I don't like to worry about page turns and things while I'm writing. That's kind of a second process to me. So when I'm like writing and inputting notes for something, I like to focus on, I like to work in continuous view, actually. But let's go back to page view, just because it looks awfully nice in this case. Here we have some of our playback settings. So our MIDI settings, this is the same as the thing we've looked at earlier, where we turned MIDI on and off. We can do it with this button here. Play from the beginning, play wherever we've clicked. So if I click somewhere and then hit play, it plays from right there. You can also always use the space bar to play and stop. Turn on loop playback, so we can loop a section, play the repeats, and pan the score during playback. I don't actually know what that does. Oh, I do know what that does. That means the cursor is going to follow the pages. And then we have a metronome here that we can turn on or off. If I turn it on, we hear a very big and clunky metronome. Display at concert pitch or not. It doesn't matter here because all my instruments are at concert pitch. This is for if you're writing for some instruments like a horn and F and you want to just show everything in concert pitch and not transposed, you can select that here. Explaining that in a lot of detail, that's a complicated thing and it's kind of beyond the scope of this class, but if you look up concert pitch and transposed instruments, you'll find more info about that. And then here we have, this is a really cool thing. This is a image capture. So if I do this and say, grab an image of this page, I can just put this box how I want it. Actually, I have to go down first, then up. I can say, cool, grab that image. And I just captured an image that went to my desktop of this image. If when I have the box, I do a control click, I get a couple more settings for it. So you can capture images, which is nice when you're working on something and you want to just send it to somebody or something like that really quick. So that's the top row of the toolbar. So one last thing about the toolbar is up here, if I control click, there's a couple extra windows I can pop open here, like a floating piano keyboard at the bottom by selecting that, or I can close it, or this selection filter, which shows up down here, which just shows my voices, which we'll talk about later. So there's a little bit of customization that can happen there.